Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever stopped to think about what's happening inside the trillions of tiny units that make you, well, you? Today, we are going on a very special tour. We're going to shrink ourselves down and explore the absolutely incredible, bustling world inside a single cell. And we're going to see it for what it is, a tiny, perfect, microscopic factory. So grab your hard hats and let's start the tour. You know, the source material for this gives us the perfect way to think about it. Just like any factory has different departments for making things, for power, for shipping, a cell does too. This whole idea of specialized compartments, that's the key to understanding how these complex little machines work so efficiently. So here's our plan for the day, our tour itinerary. We're going to start with the basic factory blueprints, pop into the head office, check out the power plant, walk the assembly line, and then finally, we'll take a look at the cleanup crews and the factory walls themselves. Let's get going. All right, first stop is the blueprint room, because you see, not all cellular factories are built the same way. There are really two basic models, a simpler kind of open plan workshop and a much more complex factory with lots of separate rooms. And this diagram just shows the difference perfectly. On the one hand, you've got a simple prokaryotic cell. Think of that like a basic workshop, right? All the tools are just in one main room. But then you have the more complex eukaryotic cells, like the animal cell you see here. See all those little structures inside? Those are all the separate departments we're about to explore. So the really crucial point is this. Eukaryotic cells, the kind that make up complex life like us and plants, they have their machinery all organized into these membrane-bound compartments called organelles. Each one has a very specific job, which makes the whole operation way more efficient. Prokaryotic cells, like bacteria, they're much simpler. They get the job done without all those internal walls. Okay, now that we get the basic layout, let's visit the most important department in our entire eukaryotic factory, the head office. This is where all the big decisions get made. And here it is. Meet the nucleus, the factory's CEO office. It holds the most precious thing in the whole company, the DNA. These are the master blueprints with all the instructions for everything the cell needs to build and everything it needs to do. It controls all factory operations, from growth all the way to reproduction. Now, if we look inside the office, you've got the nucleolus. Think of that as a little subdepartment that builds the ribosomes. Those are the little machines we're going to see on the assembly floor in a minute. The DNA blueprints themselves are all neatly packaged up as something called chromatin. And the whole office is protected by a nuclear envelope, which is kind of like a security door with special pores that control exactly what information gets in and out. Of course, all this activity takes a ton of energy. I mean, a factory this busy, where does it get its power? Well, let's go check out the power plants. These right here are the mitochondria, the undisputed powerhouses of the cell. They take in fuel, like sugar, and they convert it into a high-energy molecule that the cell can actually use. This energy powers literally every single process in the factory. No mitochondria, no power. It is that simple. But some factories, like plant cells, have an extra power source, chloroplasts. You can think of these as on-site solar panels. They capture energy directly from sunlight and use it to create their own fuel through photosynthesis. It's a pretty brilliant and totally green energy solution. All right, the lights are on and management's in place, so it's time to head down to the factory floor. This is where the cell's main products, proteins, are actually built, packaged up, and shipped out. The real workhorses of this factory floor are the ribosomes. These are the tiny machines that read the instructions sent from the nucleus and then assemble proteins, piece by piece. Some of them just float around freely, making proteins for local use, while others are attached to a much larger assembly line. And that main assembly line is called the endoplasmic reticulum, or just the ER. The part that's studded with all those ribosome machines is called the rough ER, because it looks bumpy under a microscope, and that's where proteins that are going to be exported get built. Then you have the smooth ER section, which is more of a tube network that focuses on other jobs, like making lipids and detoxifying nasty stuff for the factory. So once a product comes off that assembly line, it gets sent over to the Golgi apparatus. This is the factory's shipping department. In here, proteins get modified, sorted, and packaged into little containers called vesicles. The Golgi then slaps a label on these packages and sends them off to their final destination, whether that's inside or outside the cell. You know, an efficient factory isn't just about making things. It's also about managing waste and storing materials. So let's take a look at the maintenance and warehouse departments.
So this is the vacuole, the factory's on-site warehouse. It's basically a membrane-bound sac used for storing all sorts of things: water, food, even waste products. And what's interesting is plant cells usually have one gigantic central vacuole that helps them stay rigid, while animal cells tend to have smaller ones, if they have them at all.
And of course, every good factory needs a cleanup crew. That is the job of the lysosomes. These are special vesicles just filled with powerful digestive enzymes. They basically roam around the cell, breaking down old, worn-out machine parts, digesting food, and even destroying invaders like bacteria. They are the essential recycling and sanitation team. For our final stop, let's look at the factory building itself. The walls, the support beams, the security systems that give the whole cell its shape and protect it from the outside world. You might think everything is just kind of floating around inside a cell, but that is not the case at all. The cytoskeleton is this complex network of protein fibers that acts like internal scaffolding. It gives the factory its shape, it anchors all the departments in place, and it even serves as a sort of railway system for transporting materials from one place to another. So what about the outer boundary? Well, all cells have a plasma membrane. Think of that as a flexible security gate with bouncers, and it meticulously controls what comes in and what goes out. But plant cells and prokaryotes, they have an extra layer of protection, a rigid, sturdy cell wall. This is like the thick outer brick wall of the factory. It provides some serious structural support and defense. So let's do a super quick recap of our tour. We saw the nucleus as the head office, the mitochondria as the power plant, the ribosomes as the little assembly machines, the Golgi as the shipping department, and the lysosomes as the cleanup crew, each and every one with a vital role to play. But the most incredible thing isn't any single part. It's how they all work together in this perfect, seamless harmony. From the DNA blueprints in the head office to the final packaged protein leaving the shipping department, it's just this constant, coordinated effort. The health of the entire organism depends on every single one of these microscopic factories doing its job perfectly. And that leaves us with one final and pretty crucial thought. If this tiny factory is so perfectly tuned, what happens when one of those departments breaks down? Or what if it goes on strike? This isn't just some random question. It's the basis of so many diseases. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining our tour.